Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to Timeless Romance Tales. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more dangerous desire, quiet obsession, and romances where survival turns into devotion. Now let's begin. The Duke guarded her through the Tempest. No one else ever would. The Tempest struck without warning, a monstrous gale tearing across the Yorkshire cliffs, unleashing torrents that turned roads to rivers and valleys to lakes. Miss Lydia Hale, governess to a distant baron's children, had been en route to her new post when the skies split open. Her hired cart overturned in the flood, horses bolting, leaving her clinging to a splintered crate amid churning waters. Rain lashed her face, skirts dragging her under, until a rocky outcrop near Stormhaven Castle pierced the chaos. With desperate strokes, she hauled herself onto it, coughing seawater, body battered but alive. Above loomed the castle's jagged towers, dates agape like a beast's maw. She had no choice. Lightning cracked as she scrambled up slit cliffs, pounding on weathered oak until numbness claimed her limbs. Duke Caspian Vale surveyed the deluge from his battlements, thunder rumbling like war drums from his past. Stormhaven had stood sentinel for centuries, and he had made it his impenetrable keep. No visitors, no society, no weaknesses exposed. The Crimea had hardened him. Betrayal had sealed his isolation. Mercy was for the weak. Solitude, survival. Thus, when thunderous knocks echoed from the postern gate, Caspian's hand flew to the sword at his belt. His steward, drenched and shivering, reported, "A woman, my lord. Washed up from the flood. Collapsing now. Alive." Caspian clipped. "Barely. Begging shelter." He descended into the maelstrom, cloak whipping, finding her slumped against stone. Slender form sodden, auburn hair plastered, lips bloodless. Blue eyes flickered up, defiant spark amid despair. "Inside," he commanded the men. They lifted her. He led, barring gates behind. Mercy? No. Practicality. A drowned wraith haunted no estate. Lydia awoke to opulent captivity. Velvet-draped bed in a chamber of tapestries and roaring hearth. Pain throbbed everywhere, but warmth permeated. She stirred, wincing. "Easy." The voice anchored her. A man at bedside, shirt sleeves rolled, face chiseled by firelight, storm-gray eyes assessing. Broad, scarred hands held a basin. "Stormhaven," he said. "Duke Vale. The Tempest flung you here." Memory searched. "The flood, my cart. I must go." "Flood's rage. Bridges gone. You're trapped." She noted her shift, modest but dry. "My garments. Mate's doing. You were waterlogged, fever brewing." His efficiency chilled more than soothed. Shivers racked her anew. Caspian frowned, setting basin aside. Persistent. Stripping to breeches despite her gasp, he slid beneath covers, drawing her back to his chest. Heat radiated like forge fire. "My lord." Propriety flared. Body warmed thwarts fever. Resist and perish. Arm locked around waist, unyielding. Tremors faded against his steady pulse. Silence deepened, rain-battering pains. "Why?" she murmured, cheek to his skin. "Guardianship," he rumbled. "No one else will." She endured that night in his arms. Then the one following. Stormhaven became a fortress adrift in chaos. Torrents swelling moat-like walls, winds howling ceaselessly, sealing them from the world. "No ferias grosswollen divers, no raiders brav mudslights." Lydia mended by day. Broth fortified her, fires chased damp. Caspian's mates provided gowns and tonics. But dusk summoned him invariably, his presence as inevitable as the rain. Chills returning, he diagnosed on the second eve, entering without knock. A mild discomfort, she'd counter, hugging arms despite betraying shudders. He'd shed layers methodically, enveloping her in the vast bed. Body a bulwark of heat. Hands splayed across abdomen, leg tangling to still her quivers, intimate, imperative, yet bounded by iron restraint. His breath stirred her hair. Her sighs synced with his calm. "Why persist?" she queried softly, fingers grazing his forearm scars one eve. "Guardianship demands vigilance," he replied, grip firming. "Tempests take what they will. I won't allow it." Yet vigilance veered toward possession, his watch extending beyond nights. A night passed. Lydia's frailty waned. Steps echoed confidently through Stormhaven's halls, cheeks flushed with health. She uncovered secrets. Armories stocked for sieges, libraries groaning with arcana, solarium blooming defiant against gloom. Caspian shadowed subtly. Meals shared in echoing great hall, dialogues probing her orphaned past, his military ghosts. No overtures, only proximity thickening air. One stormy afternoon as thunder rolled, she ventured. Winds lessen. Surely paths emerge soon. He leaned against mantle, eyes hooded. Floods devour bridges. Folly to test. And if clear, you remain guarded. Gaze intensified. London already murmurs of the Duke's flood witch. Her breath hitched. Scandal. Let it brew. It wards better than stone. That night, shivers absent, he arrived regardless. Custom endures. Joining her, his palm traced spine lingering, testing. Guardianship or more? She breathed, arching instinctively. His frame tensed. Distinguish at peril. Tension hummed. Restraint held by threads. The Tempest peaked ferociously on day 11. Lightning fracturing skies, waves crashing battlements. Power wavered. Tapers illuminated shadows. Lydia roused chilled, covers insufficient. In sodden night rail, she sought conservatory's residual warmth, huddling amid fronds. Caspian discovered her. Expression thunderous. Defiance courts death. Scooping her aloft, he bore to his opulent solar. The pinnacle chamber, bed a sea of ebony linens. Damp fabric discarded ruthlessly. He dried her with warmed linens, then aligned skin to skin beneath eider downs. Reckless creature, he growled, positioning her astride, hands kneading chilled limbs. As are you, sentinel, she gasped, exploring pectoral ridges, campaign etchings. He seized her questing touch. Some defenses stand eternal. Why guard a governess so fiercely? You washed to my threshold, he intoned, voice gravel. Stormhaven claims its own. She leaned nearer, heat surging mutual. Claim echoes truer. Ignition sparked. He inverted positions, bracing above, gaze abyssal. Guardianship sharpens in storm's heart. Palm ventured thightward, caressing, commanding. Neither yielded to slumber. Lips ghosted. Pulses thundered. Fingers interlaced. Breaths interwove. Aurora pierced clouds, finding them fused, boundaries dissolving. Subsequent dawns ushered hesitant respites. Floods receded incrementally. Rivulets carved earth. Caspian mandated daytime decorum. Cliff walks under vigilant eye, lessons in a state cipher, but nocturnal veils lifted gradually. Caresses protracted. Knuckles skimming décolletage at supper, thigh nudging beneath board. By E14, supine entwined, Lydia challenged. No mere guard now. He eclipsed her, caging possessively. Verity unveiled. This bed enshrines you. Brow to brow, mouths hovered tantalizing. Till I decree freedom. Will decree come? Shadowed smirk. Guardianship's trial binds deepest. Floodwaters continued their sly retreat over the following days. Rivers narrowing to meandering streams while skies shifted from bruised gray to tentative azure. A rugged courier braved the first cleared path, bearing tidings. Ferries under repair downstream, roads firming enough for travel by week's end. Lydia felt the noose of reality tightening as she dressed for morning repast in the sunlit solar. Selecting a modest bombazine gown that whispered of her former life. She anticipated the inevitable dismissal, the end of this strange interlude. Caspian strode in moments later, his powerful frame eclipsing the threshold. Face hewn from unyielding stone. Make ready for departure. The bridges will bear weight come dawn. A blade of anguish pierced her chest. You've wearied of your guardianship so swiftly? He closed the distance in 3 measured strides, his callous fingers capturing her chin, thumb gliding languidly across her lower lip in a gesture both tender and utterly possessive. The opposite holds true. His voice dropped to a husky timbre. Society already froths with conjecture. Governess bewitched, ensnared by veil's unceasing vigil. Your distant kin dispatch inquiries. Patrons from your past circle like vultures. She trembled beneath his touch, pulse hammering. My position awaits. Echoes of family obligation linger. Welcome the quagmire, he urged, eyes darkening with intent. His mouth descended then, a slow, devastating conquest. Lips molding to hers, tongue delving to stake claim. Lydia melted against him. Nails digging crescents into his shoulders through linen. He broke away only to growl against her throat. Let rumor erect barriers mightier than these battlements. Stay, shielded wholly beneath my protection. That night, veils of decorum shredded utterly. Quilts hurled aside. His hands voyaged her contours with masterful precision, tracing the swell of her breast, the dip of waist, the silken curve of thigh, drawing oaths of surrender from her lips. What began as guardianship evolved into sovereign dominion, her moans harmonizing with the final patters of rain beyond the panes. Gossip proliferated like ivy on Stormhaven's walls. Housemates buzzed in kitchens over incoming dispatches from York. Inquisitive noblemen, Lydia's former employers howling for reparations and explanations. Caspian consigned every parchment to roaring flames unread, his gaze igniting like forges at each intrusion. When the magistrate's emissary finally thundered upon the Barbican gates with an official writ clutched in sodden fists, Caspian met him alone under drizzling skies. "Miss Lydia Hale?" the officious man demanded, spectacles fogged. "Her patrons insist upon return. This sequestration borders abduction. Guarded she is by Stormhaven's ancient right," Caspian retorted with Arctic finality. "My ward now, under my sole edict. Bear that proclamation back to your masters, and depart before tides reclaim you." Lydia witnessed the exchange from a high casement, heart pounding, a tattoo of dread morphing into electric thrill. Once the intruder spurred away, she hastened to Caspian in the armory, where he burnished a saber with methodical strokes. "They assemble forces against us. Petitions, perhaps constables." He set the blade aside, hauling her flesh against him, hands framing hips. "Let armies muster. They crumble where this bed stands eternal. Their union that you've burned fervent, bodies slick, rhythms crashing like waves upon rock, eclipsing worldly tempests in cataclysmic release." Fortnights waned into memory. Floods yielded completely. Verdant cloaks draped the dales anew. Lydia's modest boudoir merged seamlessly with Caspian's opulent solar. Delicate lace trousseaux nestled beside rough broadcloth shirts, her slender volumes of poetry abutting his hefty ledgers of estate accounts. Dawns unfolded in profound intimacy. Shared ablutions in a vast copper tub scented with rosemary, steam veiling their languorous explorations. Cliffside rambles where his palm enveloped hers possessively, winds tousling her auburn locks. One twilight upon the terrace, wild thyme perfuming the balmy breeze. Lydia gazed seaward. Liberty whispers from beyond these towers, positions anew, freedoms unclaimed. Caspian encircled her from behind, chin resting atop her crown. "Then traverse yonder portals if will summons. Guardianship exacts a toll? Allegiance unswerving and profound." His lips nuzzled her nape, fingers splayed territorial across abdomen. Broadsides from London blared headlines of the Duke's flood-bound paramour. His sentinel vigilance unassailable. Caspian nurtured the calumny deliberately. No refutations issued, only knowing smirks relayed through servants. Lydia donned the notoriety as a mantle, electing these voluntary fetters over barren independence. The ultimate gauntlet breached ramparts unbidden. A sealed ultimatum from her patron baron, indignation writ large in furious script. Caspian perused it by hearthglow, flames leaping in his eyes. "They adjudge you utterly ruinated. Courtesy of my guardianship. Ruined in such fashion?" She straddled him audaciously upon the fireside rug, hands framing his scarred visage. The missive immolated in a whoosh, he ensnared her waist, tumbling them into silken chaos. "Ruinous rapture, perpetual and thine alone." Crest surged title. Destinies interlocked indelibly amid gasps and fervent vows. Verdancy triumphed fully over the Moors. Stormhaven's iron portals yielded passage solely to them. Lydia, tempest-tossed and half-drowned upon arrival, emerged reforged in Caspian's unyielding fire. What he termed guardianship proved mere shroud-veiling ardor abyssal, all-consuming. Their bed reigned as indomitable bastion, weathering every gale.